I wish I could share my view with you guys. I am looking straight through the Costa Rican jungle all the way to the ocean. It's pretty fantastic. Gorgeous.
Just rotate your camera, your screen. Rotate the whole screen. I'm kidding.
Mhm. Yeah, it's uh, highly recommend taking a vacation down here. Coming down here and spending some time. It's beautiful.
What airline has the best deals to Costa Rica?
Alaskan, super easy. Uh, you can fly straight out of Lax. Where in Costa Rica? I am in Uvita right now. As a matter of fact, if you look up Uvita, they're famous for this kind of sandbar that goes out that looks like a whale tail. And I can see it from here. It's pretty rad. Except the tide's coming in. So it's starting to go away. But yeah, Alaskan's the best one because you can get a direct flight straight out of Lax and go right into San Jose. And it's very affordable.
Is there any like scuba or surf or anything close by to you?
Yeah, I surfed all weekend in Playa Hermosa, which is well, there's multiple Playa Hermosas, but the Playa Hermosa that is north of Uvita, I surfed that one like 3 days straight over the weekend.
What kind of wave is it?
They're all mostly sandbars. So yeah, just sandbar, but it was great. It was like 2 to 4 foot, and the water's like 83 degrees. It's magnificent. Yeah, so shaver, yes, there was. On Friday, it was like 2 to 4 foot. Saturday, it dropped to just 2 to 3 foot, and it was 2 to 3 foot on Sunday. It was wonderful. Just yeah, you can stay out there for hours, hours, and all day long. As a matter of fact, I could stay out there all day long, but I'd get crispy. It's very hot. It's like 90, 93 degrees, and the sun is intense down here, to say the least. All right, let's give everybody one more minute. We got 21 people. We normally have 25. Yeah, but to answer the other question, Melinda, yes, they do have snorkeling south of here. I mean, all over. There's snorkeling all over the place. But there's this really beautiful reef that's about an hour and a half southeast of here that is it's insane. It's just literally the water is completely crystal clear. I mean, it's more clear than what you see like in Hawaii and all that stuff. It's just it's amazing. Yeah. I Georgia. Yeah, I did my time in the South, Marie. No, thank you. What part of Georgia?
North Georgia, near like the Chattanooga area in Tennessee.
Hmm. I grew up as a kid in North Carolina, so I'm Southerner by
Oh,
heart.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's kind of cool is in Costa Rica, it's very humid, kind of like the South, but it just stays this way all the time. It never really gets, cold down here, but it's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I spent a couple years in Guam and it was like that there, and it was absolutely beautiful. I never wanted to come back.
Yeah, yeah, Guam is beautiful. Was that for vacation or work?
Work.
Gotcha. Military?
Yeah.
Right on. What branch?
Navy.
Right on. Me too. I'm a
Oh, yeah.
Navy veteran. Yeah, that's what brought me to San Diego. I served
Hmm.
in Desert Storm on the aircraft carrier called the Kitty Hawk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I served a couple of years.
Well, Kitty Hawk is appropriate if you grew up in North Carolina.
I know. Isn't that funny? Wasn't that way
Right.
to go? Yes, it was rather coincidental that I got stationed on the Kitty Hawk.
I grew up in New Jersey. My family, every year for our family vacation, we would go to Nag's Head.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. It's
We'd
gorgeous.
load up in the station wagon and sleep in the back, and my parents would drive down across and I would, this is funny, I would always put on some sort of like flotation device when we would go over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge because I did not trust it. And I was a little girl, and I'm like, you're all gonna die, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
float.
that's funny. You say station wagon. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up with station wagons. That's all my parents would buy is big old station wagons.
Yeah.
The kind that had the back row or the back seat that faced backwards.
No, no, we had the one where it was a Toyota Corolla, so we could put the back seats down and we had our sleeping bags and pillows, and we would just like sleep on the way. Totally illegal, no seatbelts or anything.
No, of course.
I mean, it was probably legal at the time, but
Yeah. All right. So great. We got 24 people. That's good enough for now. Okay. Hello. Hope everybody they've been having a decent week. Let me get rid of this control panel. I'm already recording, so thank you if anybody was thinking about that. So let's see here. This is the week of typography. Like I mentioned on Monday when we discussed web typography, today's lecture would be around rules for better typography. Can somebody help refresh my memory? Doesn't City have a typography class? Two of them.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Can you,
There's
is anybody taking those typography classes currently or have taken them?
I have
have.
it last semester.
Who was that?
Josh
Oh,
and
yeah, me.
me, Joshua.
Okay. Yeah, tell us about it.
Typography is a little bit challenging, but when you like get used to the basic fundamentals, like how to make words and then how to use them in a artistic way, it's actually a lot of fun and pretty useful too.
Now, share with me, because I remember back in the day when I took, when Candace was teaching me typography. I'll never forget the first class or the first assignment. What is the first assignment for typography these days?
I'm trying to remember because I took it like around 2023 in summer, but um I think it's like making your own word fonts or something. I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else?
Isn't it the are you talking about type 1 where it's like you reset the same thing over and over like 50 times?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that one, I think so.
Okay, so that's like the first assignment.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I remember the first assignment for Candace. She would, the assignment was to take a font, find a expressive word that you felt the font either complemented or the font complemented the word, or maybe it contrasted it or whatever. Like you chose it for a certain reason with this word. And then only in black and white, you were to design this sort of poster with just the word in black and white with this one font. So let's say you were to pick the word dramatic and you were to choose Helvetica. You were to hand create this like black and white poster with the font and the one word. And I remember what was so challenging about it was the simplicity. It was really, really difficult, for a lot of students to be able to do something, to really kind of think out of the box a little bit, to do something that was expressive and, just kind of unique. Some people really did something that was, maybe more abstract, more literal or whatever. But oh yeah, like imagine the word alone and you were to choose Helvetica. I remember this one student, she really brilliant. It was so smart. All they did was they created this, they had the big poster, it was all white space, and then they stacked the word alone in the far bottom corner. And I was like, that's brilliant. It's so simple but brilliant. So it was kind of a cool exercise.
I had to do something similar in one of the typography. I think it was a typography class. It was either typography or graphic design one, where we had to like illustrate a.
Mm-hmm. It could have been graphic design one back in the day, but again, like we're talking 1996. So it's been a while. Okay, so let's dive into it, everyone. Now, just to let you know, my internet can be a little tricky because I'm on Starlink and sometimes it kind of drops out. So please just let me know if I like drop out. Okay. Sound good? Please. All right. All right. Rules for better typography. So first, I already started recording. Yes, a break. We know participation. We know the chat. I don't have the chat window open, so just raise your hand or speak up, if you would, please. We're going to just do a quick review of what we learned in the last class on Monday around web typography. And then the actual lecture, again, is going to be rules for better typography. The assignment has not changed. Your assignment is the persona user flows, wireframe, and then like the hero sections to kind of represent those. So, all right, let's dig in because I love talking typography. So I'm sure I will go off on a tangent every now and then, but all good. Don't mistake legibility for communication. It's one of my favorite quotes from David Carson. We've talked about David Carson. You guys remember who he is? Nobody? You guys all forgot?
No, I know who he is. Most of us do. Everyone's being real quiet for some reason.
That's okay. Okay. So we all know David Carson was a untrained designer, graphic designer, and he didn't have any schooling around the traditional sense of design. He was a very expressionistic designer. So he was famous for a magazine called Beach Culture, very famous for Ray Gun. He did advertising and design for Pepsi. And I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So here's just reason why I just show this is because I think it complements that quote a little bit. So the one on the right is a surfing beach lifestyle magazine that David Carson designed called Blue. It's one of my favorite that I think Carson did. And it actually is considerably one of the safest things he ever did. As far as traditional design, David Carson did far more or he broke the rules a lot more than in this kind of cover right here. So one of the things that I've always liked about this, actually, I won't say that. Let me hold off. Can anybody sort of give me their opinion on what sort of makes this blue design kind of special and unique?
I'm going to just throw it out there that I think it says blue, And so your brain thinks blue, but then it's orange. So there's kind of a disconnect right there.
I agree.
It's
Um,
very,
oh,
Go ahead. Speak up. Yeah.
blue and orange, they're the polar opposites on the color wheel.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else?
it's very rare when we see a human in a magazine cropped that way.
Very good, Carolyn. Very, very good. That, and also very good about the color too. So Carson was being very subtle, but he was already breaking the rules a little bit on what we expect. And that's why, I don't know, maybe it's just, I think it's a little bit of my personality. I like to be surprised. I like the unexpected. I mean, it's far more memorable as humans. There's like, it's going to stick with us a little bit more when we see something that's unexpected. When it's expected, your brain just sort of runs right through it. It's like water down a river, right? Just like that. But what happens if you drop a huge rock right in the middle of the river? Well, then it disrupts it and it slows it down. Well, Carson was doing a couple of things here, just like all three of you had noticed. He was utilizing a color that was unexpected for the name. And then also, Carolyn, he is cropping this image of this person diving or doing something in a very, very like no, untraditional way. And there's one more thing that he's doing. He's creating visual tension. Remember that term? I learned it from Candace way back in the day. I'm not sure if Sean and Bradford or any of the other teachers actually use that term, but visual tension is a very, very powerful tool in design. And if you use it right, you can really kind of create something that's dynamic. And so what he's doing is he's actually using the person's arm to point down and then barely touch the word issue. And it's creating this very kind of dynamic white space in this negative space, but then this arm is just kind of like barely touching, this person is sort of floating in space, but they're just barely touching that word. So I just think that this cover is literally one of my favorite things that Carson has ever done, because I think it's very sophisticated, and it was one of his earliest works. So it's very sophisticated, but it's breaking the rules. And why I say that is because what is the topic of today? The rules of typography. The other designer here on the left is Chris Ashworth. I've also mentioned Chris Ashworth. Now, Chris Ashworth is a trained designer. He was trained in Europe, and he was trained based off of all the like Swiss design fundamentals of grids and proper typography and all this very, very structured like teaching. And he really found himself in deconstructive expressive design, especially in ray gun. So this is one of my favorite. You guys probably remember I showed you, I have this magazine back at home. It's framed behind me. It's one of my favorite with this David Bowie one. And this is the spread of it. And the thing is, I mean, he is touching on all of these aspects of, he knows the rules, but he's breaking the rules intentionally. He's creating visual tension. He's creating, all of these, distortion and all this stuff. So it's less subtle, where I feel like David Carson on the right was a bit more subtle in the way that he's breaking the rules. Chris Ashworth on this particular example is really breaking the rules. What he normally does is he'll pick fonts and everything and he'll print them out and he'll cut them up and deconstruct them and basically just fuck them up in like all different types of ways and then rescan them and do this and that and then kind of like hand create what he's trying to do through hand methods and also a bit of computer methods. So I just wanted kind of, before we get into the structure of typography, I kind of wanted to set you up for like, let's keep our mind open. And some of you have already taken typography, so this might be redundant for you, but others it won't be. But I just want everybody to kind of go in this with a bit of an open mind to know, yes, we're going to go over these fundamentals of typography, and they're very appropriate. And it's always good to know, but don't be afraid to break the rules when it's appropriate. So, all right, so we're going to review web typography real quick. We talked about how typography is the most crucial element in web design. We also quoted myself, which is very egotistical of me. I said that you cannot have design without typography, but it really is. I mean, that's a pretty good quote. I have to pat myself on the back. We thoroughly broke down this particular site, Marmot Expedition, and I kind of expressed my thinking around how I feel like this particular site still is one of my favorite and checks the boxes on so many of the fundamentals of good web typography. Next, we talked about how we don't have full control of how typography is displayed on the web, and it is because for a variety of reasons. We talked about how somebody may have a disability, or they may have a really old, outdated computer with, a browser that is 10 years old, or they may like have a really old, like this or that, or something. There's something that's basically that you can't always foresee that a human out there is having to sort of like use to look at your website. And it's not always going to be displayed the way that you intended it to be. So that's just the nature of the web. We also said we can't even guarantee that users will be able to render our chosen typefaces unless you are using Arial, Comic Sans, Times New Roman, Georgia, and all those other boring ass fonts. Then there's a good chance that maybe there's somebody out there that really won't render the typeface because they have maybe a very outdated computer, outdated operating system, or there could be a disability. Next, and finally, what we considered are considerations were legibility, readability, type size, line length, line height, choosing the typeface, which I said is always my favorite, and then also hierarchy. So all of these things, which again, I'm showing this Marmot site to the right, that I think they check a lot of these boxes very, very well. As a matter of fact, I would say they check every single box on this list. And that's why it still is sort of living the test of time of a website in good typography. All right. We also kind of covered websites that sort of break the rules a bit. And it's important, we talked about the importance of that and knowing your target audience. And that's one of the most important things is understanding your client and understanding the target audience, and then being able to make very calculated, intentional decisions on when, where, how, and why you would break some rules. I mentioned how with the folklore site, I was kind of breaking rules for a very intentional audience. We also talked about Aristide over here and how, he kind of breaks rules. He and his, people he partners up with, they break rules with typography and layout and interaction, and they do it for a very intentional reason. Okay. Any comments, questions before we move on? All righty. Okay, so we're going to get into rules. Rules. So, rule number 1, skip a weight. So when using font weight to create contrast, skip at least one weight in between the pieces of text. For instance, instead of mixing the regular weight with the medium weight, mix regular with semi-bold or bold. Example, the one at the top doesn't have enough contrast. You can barely see the variations of the weight. But in the one in the bottom, it is an obvious variation of weight. Rule number 2, create clear size contrast. So when using font size to create contrast, aim for a 1.5 size difference or larger between elements. So when possible. So this ensures that size differences are clear, and we're using that word again, intentional. And like we're designing, we're not fine artists. So I use that word a lot because your job is to be intentional.
Oh,
Yeah.
sign of life. Okay. Yeah, you were dropping out like really bad. You dropped out for like a solid 12 seconds.
Okay. So, but was I on this screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. So what I was saying was basically I was reading through this and I was reiterating being intentional. So it's always important because we're designers and not fine artists that we always need to be intentional with our actions. Is that good? Catch up? Yeah? Okay, good. All right, so example here. Things I love about typography, the one at the top does not have enough size variation. The one at the bottom does have proper size variation. There's an obvious size and weight variation. So they're doing both. Rule number 3, use great typefaces. Well-made typefaces will look great because of their refined spacing and letter construction. Great typefaces usually have many styles for greater flexibility. So you look at the one up at the top. So Impact does not have a lot of variations, but Impact is a web standard font. It's like Arial and Verdana and all of those. It is a built-in web font. So if you needed to design for the lowest common denominator, Impact actually is a great font. But if you're looking for something with more styles, Sharp Grotesque is a much better font. It's got 100+ styles to it. A little more of a variable font. Rule 4, mix contrasting typefaces. When mixing typefaces, make choices that create clear contrast. Avoid mixing typefaces with the same classification like sans serifs with other sans serifs. So you look at the one up at the top, things I love. It's the same sans serifs. There's not a lot of variation, but the one at the bottom, things I love is a thin weight sans serif, and then typography is more of a thicker serif that has a lot of contrast to it compared to the sans serif, the thin sans serif. Next, rule number 5, use display and script typefaces very carefully. Using the display or script typeface is a bold choice that should be used sparingly with careful consideration for legibility. Avoid mixing multiple display script typefaces together, as it usually just doesn't work. And also consider this, it slows the load down. It's not good for performance. So, oh, lovely. Look at those fonts. Things I love about type. Man, that's just a typographic mess up there. Kind of a vomit of fonts. But the one down at the bottom has some strong variations, things I love, but then the typography font is, a high contrast font, display font that really has a lot of character to it. Next, rule number 6, refine letter spacing. So we talked about that in the last lecture. So for larger headlines, it often looks good to reduce the letter spacing, which is tracking, because remember, we can't do kerning with web typography. The opposite is true on all caps headlines, where slightly increasing the letter spacing often feels more natural. So you look at the top one, big headline, the tracking, just too much. Like it feels like the words and the letters are sort of falling apart. It's, it doesn't look intentional. Where the one at the bottom, they feel very like close. There's this cadence of negative space between the letters that feel good. And then also, matter of fact, like, is the one down at the bottom a thicker weight than the one at the top? Or is it just an illusion because of the letter spacing? What do you guys think? I think it's the same weight. Yeah, drop out again.
No,
No.
we just prefer not to speak because like we're not sure if you're asking us to like speak without like raising our hands or
Yeah, I'm
just
sorry, guys. I told you the internet here is a little wacky.
it's
So
okay.
all I was saying was, do you think these are the same weights of fonts, or is it just an illusion?
I think it's the same weight.
I think they're the same.
I think it
I
is,
gotta agree.
but if you notice, I think it's an illusion that the one at the top looks thinner than the one at the bottom.
Yeah, it feels illusionary just because like when you put more spacing to something, it like creates like depth. Like, when you like do that drawing scale, like drawing a room. So it's kind of like creating that
Right.
like a whole.
Yeah. All right. And the next one is showing all caps and how it's more proper to give in all caps a bit more tracking. But I don't know. I mean, I get what we're saying here, but the top one doesn't bother me so much. So it's really just kind of a, you got to see what's right for the font. All right, rule number 7, refine line height. So this is our leading. So when working with large text, the default line height is often too large and can make headlines feel disconnected. On small text, the default line height is sometimes too tight. So we look at the one on the left. Yeah, it feels like they're sort of floating apart, where the one on the right feels like they're a unit. But when it comes to body copy or a paragraph, it does help with readability to give more leading, so it becomes more readable, especially the smaller the font. Rule 8, use consistent capitalization. I think I told somebody when we were looking at your personas, I don't remember who it was, just to consider the capitalization and to stay consistent with the style. So whether title case, sentence case, or all caps, ensure that headings within the same level of hierarchy have consistent capitalization. So whether it is here, sentence case, where it is the first letter of the sentence, that's only capitalize. Title case. Now there's some interesting rules around title case. So if you look at this one, you notice that it is only the two words that are longer than, so yeah, two words that are longer than 3 letters. And that's usually kind of the case for title case, or the rule around title case. You don't normally do the case for 1 letter or 2 letters, but sometimes people do the 2 letters. Like, I don't know, like I might have the I and is to be uppercase. And it kind of depends. It just really sort of depends on the look that you're going for. I've also, in some cases, might even do the uppercase. So then it really kind of feels like almost a headline. So the rules around title case fluctuate. And it's really, I think, based off of just the way it looks. Does that make sense? Yeah. All uppercase. I mean, it's great for headlines. Grab your attention. My dad used to text me all the damn time in all uppercase, all the time, all caps, all the time. I don't know if any of you guys, have elderlies as parents, but my dad, he used to always text me in all caps. I go, look, Dad, do you realize like it's kind of like you're yelling at me all the time? Can you like? And he was like, well, I can't read it. I go, yeah, but I can. So, if you're texting anybody else, they're probably thinking that you're yelling at them. And then lowercase. So lowercase, it's around a tone, around sort of the voice that you're sort of speaking.
There you go.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah, I noticed I got a little notification. So lowercase, I was saying, lowercase can be appropriate when what I usually suggest to clients is when you kind of want it to be soft spoken and almost in a way a bit kind of juvenile, if that makes sense. So it's almost like, you're kind of talking in a very soft voice. I don't use it very often, but there are certain places that it could be appropriate to use all lowercase. Thoughts? Any
Could
feedback
you
around this?
could you quickly repeat what you were talking about? What like
Oh man, I'm really, jeez. Ugh.
Okay, there we go. You're back.
Yeah. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah, I really apologize, everyone. I just
No, it's
can't.
okay. It's out of your control.
Yeah, I can't help it today. So what I was saying was lowercase, it's I don't use it very often. It's usually in a way of like speaking soft.
Hmm.
So more of a graphic sort of style. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you again for speaking up. And Joshua, I'm going to assign you. Okay. So if I drop out, you're the one that speaks up. Okay.
You got it.
All right. This is not good advertising for Starlink. This place is supposed to have Starlink, and I thought it was like amazing satellite Wi-Fi. So rule number 9, prioritize left alignment. So aligned left looks great and is ideal for extended reading in cultures that read from left to right. Aligned left is the best default, especially for any extended reading. Simple as that. So it's just traditional. Center aligned isn't too bad. I mean, you see it quite a bit, but left aligned is always better. Okay, rule number 10, avoid justified text. Justified alignment can often lead to rivers and other spacing issues, especially on the web where we don't have full control over hyphens and other factors. So, yeah, you get these big gaps in between your words most of the time when it comes to justified text. But then again, even left alignment can look real crappy. I mean, look at those massive we call them rags on the left align. I mean, you can get some massive rags in left align too when it comes to just how it flows. But then that can depend on the screen size. You might not get rags if it was a little bit bigger. Rule 11, align to one axis. Align all group text to the same axis. This will create unity between the text elements and avoid them feeling disjointed or misaligned. So, actually, this was one of my comments to one of the personas as well, around kind of aligning that. So I don't remember who it was, but I do remember that was one of my feedback for you. Because it just creates weird negative space, and it makes the design kind of look like it's falling apart a bit. Rule 12, create strong groupings. Group related text together by using tighter spacing between those text elements. Separate unrelated text by using larger spacing. So what that means is, if you got too much space between your header and its support copy, it starts feeling like it's falling apart, or even that it's not a part of that headline. It like you're not quite sure which one is it connecting with. But the one on the right has the proper spacing and grouping. Rule 13, use lines and shapes to create even stronger grouping between related content. Use lines rules to help enclose content in shapes or cards. So in a case like this, any of these can work. It helps sort of frame it and create visual distinctions between the different groupings. Or like we said, make it a card, kind of a term. So contrast is always something that you want to consider. It helps with readability. It helps with legibility. It helps things stand out and be more memorable. So when in doubt, always sort of lean into creating contrast in your typography. Pause. Questions. Let's take a moment. Nobody speaks up, then I'm actually going to call people out that don't really speak up much. So get ready. Anybody?
I have a question.
Yes. And who is that?
Emily.
Emily. Yeah, go for it, Emily.
Oh, I forgot. I'm a cat. In Heroes, is it better to use live text or text embedded in images?
I mean, it's always best practices to try to use live text so it's responsive, because if you're making what you call graphic text and you're making it a static image, then depending on the responsiveness, that text is going to shrink and it's going to get smaller, especially for mobile. It'll get bigger for the other screens, but it may end up being unreadable depending on how you design it for mobile.
Okay.
Okay. Other thoughts? How about some of you that have taken, sorry, go ahead. Who was that?
It was Carl.
Carl, go for it.
Sure. The justified text and rivers quite a bit on like some really good looking websites. But so personally, I being in this program, I see it right away and I go, you know, that's you can't do that, don't do that. And I know that rules can be broken in some certain circumstances, but it doesn't. I couldn't find any reason why they are justified in all the ones that I'm looking at. These like supposedly really high quality designs. And I just know that if I ever turn anything like that into Sean or Bradford, then they would just tell me not to do it. You know, they would say, get rid of those rivers. But I'm like, well, I see them out there all the time. You know, so I just can't like,
Well,
I don't, how do you know when it's okay to break the rules like that?
yeah. I think that's where you're gonna end up making those decisions depending on the project and the target audience. I mean, yes, for proper typography. Oh, actually, let's talk about that. So for proper typography, you want to avoid these rags in these rivers as much as possible. Now, has anybody told you sort of the rule of thumb around manipulating the tracking, like how far to go and how far not to go? Has anybody talked about those sort of standards?
But like kind of like you're not supposed to go like tracking is the space in between each letter, right? Or is that letting?
Yeah, it's so the kerning
Oh,
is the
kerning.
space between each letter. The tracking is the space between all of the words.
I just remember there's some sort of rule of spacing. It might be in between each letter that like you're not supposed to go really beyond 20. Like
Right. Way to go, Melinda. Yeah, that's right. That's kind of a standard. But again, it depends on the font. But yeah, you're right. So when I was taught, and it's always stuck with me, but again, depending on the font, depending on 20 is sort of where you can kind of reduce like -20 to +20. That's sort of the flex. So if your tracking is set at 0, then you can kind of go all the way down to -20 and then also +20. And you can kind of stay within that, I call it the safe zone. So yeah, way to go, Melinda. That's exactly where I was getting to. So in this case, on the right, if I was to,
Are you showing us an example? Because we see you, not an example. Like, are you sharing your screen?
yeah, I'm still sharing my screen. Can you guys not see my screen anymore?
No, I can see it.
We see
Oh,
it.
I can only see a person. Maybe it's my settings. Okay, that's weird. I'll check.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've been sharing. So here, we're gonna do a quick little exercise because I know you guys like the exercises, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's we're gonna do this. Actually, hold on. Let's duplicate this. All right. So what we're going to end up doing. Wait, is that even this? No, sorry, guys. 1 second here. It's not what I wanted. Here it is. This is where I wanted to be. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little bit of an exercise. Now, Figma, we don't really have. As a matter of fact, I almost feel like let me jump over to Illustrator, okay? Because we don't really have kerning in Figma. You can't really adjust kerning in Figma. So let's jump over to Illustrator real quick. Let's wait for that to load. But what we're going to do, the exercise we're going to do is we're going to I'm going to show you if this was print, because we can't really control too much on the web. If this was web, we could do like, you know, I mean, if it's, there's just not a lot you can do unless you have a fixed margin, right? Even that looks better. You see how I kind of tweaked the width of the box? But unless you're doing a fixed margin on your site, then you're not going to have a lot of control over that. But even that looks better than the rag up at the top. So if we go up here and we go, man, you know, let's see if we can see, even that looks better. Just making that text box just a little bit smaller immediately helps those rivers. So sometimes, just to show you, like, if I have control over my my margins, then I'll work with my developer to make you know, to kind of adjust them a little bit to try to avoid some of these rags and rivers. And that's with dynamic text on a website. But let's go over here. Go to we're going to create a text box. Boom. Shoot. Sorry. Get out of here. Bugs. Really? Come on. There's a lot of bugs down here. Let's increase this real quick. So let's try something here. I'm just gonna. So if this was print, let me actually get my window here so I can see so you can see everything. Hold on 1 second. There. Right. Okay. All right. So let's open up. So you're familiar with any Adobe product, it's a pretty standard typography window, right? So if we're looking at, like, if this was print and this was my rag, looks terrible, right? So like you said, Melinda, if I wanted to come in here and try to fix some of these rags. So over here, this is my tracking. This is my kerning. My kerning is set on auto. I personally like to do optical right off the bat. And then let's say we're just going to leave the tracking at 0, but I'm going to try to get, like, kind of adjust some of these rags. So I'm going to go down. Nope, -20 didn't work. So that still didn't work for me. So something like this, I'm going to probably have to do a soft break on that word. And then I'm going to increase the first line to 20. Now you see, like, these are getting really close to here, but these guys, these 3 lines. Yes, Marie.
What's the difference between the auto and optical?
So optical is a way that when the font is designed, the designer has intentionally adjusted the overall kerning, you know, and gave it these presets that optical sort of looks a bit better to the eye. So if you were to go, so let me just show you the difference. Hopefully I'm explaining that right. Just move those over, okay? So if you look at, yeah.
We missed almost your entire explanation.
Oh, actually, I hadn't said anything yet.
Oh,
But did I drop off?
yeah.
Okay. So the one on the left is auto. The one on the right, I'm going to select optical. There's not a big difference in this font, Marie, between optical and auto. But some fonts, there might be a bit more of a difference that the designer has created. And it really depends on the font. Okay. So I'm going to kind of go back to.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
What type of differences would you see, and how would you know when to use optical and when not to? Like, do you just check, or like, you know what I mean? It seems like a big category for.
It's really, you
yeah.
just need to check, Carolyn. It ends up being a preference for you. So
is it I guess my question wasn't clear. Is it a spacing issue
it
as
is.
opposed to like a variant of the typeface?
It's really kind of a spacing. It's a spacing for the kerning, the kerning between the letters. And again, you might see some fonts that have a bigger difference between, the differences between auto and optical. But it's really you just need to kind of look at it and make your own decision based off the font.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So just to show you here, kind of go back. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to decrease my visual rag. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start. You see how I'm kind of coming in here and reducing the tracking for each of these lines. I'm going to go down. Again, this is only for something like print. You can't necessarily do this for web. I'm just sharing an exercise. This one, I'm going to go up 20. So you see how that looks way, way better than the one up at the top? And again, you only can achieve this with designing for print. You can't do this necessarily for web, but I just wanted to go through that exercise just because all you can do is you can, for web, you can just go, I'm going to decrease my tracking, or I'm going to increase it. And that's about the only control you have with web typography. That's why a lot of designers, especially traditional designers, they really struggle with designing for web because they want to be able to control the typography so much, and you just can't. I get it. It is what it is. This looks way better whenever I can come in here, and now I can even go in here and adjust my kerning and all that stuff. I get it. It looks better, but it's just not the reality for web. So, all right. Any more questions? Anybody? How about Tirsa? Sorry.
Yes, Tirsa.
Tirsa, I remember that. After I said it, I remembered. Tirsa. Got any?
Yeah, I mean, like you're explaining, traditional designers want to use these, elaborate fonts.
Yep.
So it's I'm starting to think, I'm like, man, I kind of got to reel that back in my own, options and work.
Yeah, especially when it comes to digital, just because you have a lot more eyes on it, and you just have too many variables.
Yeah.
Sam, you raised your hand.
Sorry, yeah, this might be a stupid question, but I was wondering why you can't change the tracking for web.
You can adjust your tracking. Yes, yeah, you can adjust your kerning, the letter space.
Okay. Okay, so how come you keep saying you're not going to be able
I'm sorry, you broke up for me.
Um, so
Yeah.
how come when you were showing us, you kept saying you won't really use this for web?
What I was showing you was you can adjust each line tracking. Each line, I was adjusting each line and making them different.
Okay,
You can't do that for the web. And I'm sorry if I didn't explain myself right. All
it's
you can,
okay. Just
yeah, all you can do is set a standard for the entire
okay.
text for web. But you can't
Okay.
go from one line to the next and change each line.
So if you wanted to do something like that, could you do a type in a different program and then bring the program into the web, like as like a photo type?
Yeah, as a graphic, yes, you could.
Okay. All right.
But then remember the sizing thing.
Okay.
You'll have to test it to make sure it's still readable on a smaller size.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I would say when we get into hero sections, and if you're designing for hero sections, it's a bit more appropriate for like big hero sections that you might have graphic text and you've adjusted, you've perfected the kerning and the tracking because it's a big section. Okay.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, you bet. So, all right. So this is where we're actually I'm gonna take a quick break because I'm gonna have to change spots in this house. I'm about to get blasted by the sun, so I need to find a new place. Um, so we're gonna take a 10-minute break real quick before we get into the assignment because what we're gonna do next is I would like either we're gonna we're gonna go into breakout rooms, which we might end up doing for a little bit after I offer volunteers to share their work in progress of the current assignment. Okay. So I'm going to take a break. You can think about it for 10 minutes. And hopefully there's some volunteers that would like to share their work in progress of the current assignment. Okay. Sound good? All right. Okay, people. I gotta find a new place to sit. And we will be back at 4:15. All right. See you then. Sorry. That's 2:15 your time, 4:15 my time. See you in a little bit. Hello. I have hopefully my Wi-Fi is going to be better. I switched up here. So Starlink was no bueno. All right. Okay, let's give everybody here just a minute. Shaver, is that you surfing in your little profile image?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's my Google picture, so I think it just kind of transferred over from that.
Where is that? Where are you surfing at in that photo?
That's Honolulu Bay in Maui.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a good trip.
A little bit warmer than San Diego.
This time of year for sure.
I don't think it ever gets warm in San Diego. We're lucky if it gets what, 72?
Yeah, hopefully, right?
I know.
Last summer was pretty cold, honestly. I don't think I ever got out of a short sleeve.
I know. I know. It's just always cold. Okay, let's get going. So, all right, I would love to open it up to some volunteers. You had some time to think about it. Carl, I see you raised your hand. Um, would you like to share some of your work in progress?
Yeah, so I had turned my user personas in already, and
Okay.
I didn't particularly want to go over those, but
Sorry,
I'll go over anything.
the user flows.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the assignment here. Sorry, I meant to say user flows. So the persona user flows and the wireframes in the hero section. Like if you guys have a work in progress on this current assignment to share.
Yeah, I have three hero sections
Great.
and some wireframes.
Okay.
Not as many wireframes, but
That's all right. All right. Well, then I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to let you share your screen and share with the team.
okay. I'll do my I'll just share my entire screen and you all can
Yeah.
watch me find my windows from there.
That's all right.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Don't you love it when your Zoom toolbar gets in the way of what you want to click?
Well, you know what's funny is we don't see your Zoom toolbar,
I
but
know.
it's super annoying. That's why I hide it too. Can't take it.
Okay, so we're gonna ignore this page
Sure.
and I'm gonna fix my change this to what is it, fill screen?
Sure.
Fill there, okay. So this is hero section option number 1 for mobile.
Yeah.
And I went with the sort of type as image with like some California nature photography in the or as imagery.
Yeah.
And these were kind of the colors. I got these colors from my mood board,
Great.
but this is option 1 between these two. Whichever one of these directions I go in, I think I'm going to have a challenge in finding consistent photos. But I mean, I guess I'll just cross that bridge when I come to it.
Sure.
And then option 2, mobile right here.
Yeah. I personally already like this direction better.
Okay.
Um,
Desktop version right here. I'm using Stocksy, so that's why you can kind of see
right.
you can see those letters in the in the image.
Yeah, just I mean, I instantly like I think that this feels a lot more approachable. The hero section breathes better. Um, there's I can read things far better in this particular design than the previous one. It was a bit, there's a lot to look at. And there's a lot to take in. And
Okay.
this one is very direct, it's to the point, and I think it's a bit more appropriate for probably the target audience and also to represent, your client. So
Okay, awesome.
yeah, that's my initial reaction. Now, let me see the desktop again.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get into little, details and stuff like that. I mean, this is just sort of your first stroke of, with
Yeah.
your brush stroke, right?
Yeah, exactly. I tried not to spend more than 30 minutes on these. I probably did, but I tried not to.
No, that's good. Is that what Bradford had said? Just don't spend too much time on it, but just
he may have. I don't think he just said do 3 of them, and I was like, well, I don't want to get too bogged down into details, especially if I might not use this.
right.
So yeah, I was like, just try to put it together. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, so option 3, I went way different.
Yeah.
I tried to have this big. So on mobile, the effect is not nearly the same. I tried to have a really big settlement number. Like this is how much we won for our client, right?
Right.
Here's the desktop version of that.
Right.
I guess it is a challenging sort of look to get on a mobile device. And if we're doing mobile first, like that's about as big as I can get, right?
And that's why it's important to start with mobile, because that's where most people, like we said, are going to experience it first. So you're sort of solving for, kind of the lowest common denominator first.
And then the idea behind this design is that the number would be counting up. It would count up from 0 to, whatever the settlement is in this box.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then it would, after it was done showing us Pacific Landmark versus San Diego, and it counts up, then it would go to another one, so and so versus so and so, and then what that settlement was, and then a different one, so and so versus so and so. So it would just be something to kind of look at, I
Yeah.
guess, for however long you want to stick around and read it. But
Yeah.
my challenge there is I don't know how to make the numbers. I don't know how to do that sort of animation in Figma.
I wouldn't worry about things like that, especially
Okay.
in space. Don't even. I mean, you could do a couple of quick storyboards, but we're not even close to being there yet.
Don't
So
even worry about it.
yeah, don't even worry
Okay.
about it. So as far as again, looking at the variations, I do think that the second one is far more inviting and approachable.
Okay.
I think that when it comes to thinking about like, a law firm and it's people helping people. I mean, some people are like, well, I don't know about that, right? With attorneys. But that's kind of what you're going to them for, right? You're going to them to help you out because, obviously you are in some sort of distress. Maybe you're not, maybe you're just a liar and you just want to make some money. Um, you just filmed yourself tripping on the sidewalk and now you want to sue the city, which people do this stuff all the time. Or, you're at Target and you pretend like, you trip and you hurt yourself. People do that stuff all the time. But anyways, I think as far as when it comes to the tone and the sort of the first brush stroke, I think this is a far more like right choice to think about as far as
Okay.
kind of moving forward. You got a lot of elements that are working, I believe. I think the font, already kind of thinking about this particular serif font, I think is very conversational. Again, it's conservative, but it's conversational. I think the color palettes are warm. It feels trusting. Your call to action stand out. I think that's really important. For mobile, you got kind of, you're thinking about already a nice simple hamburger menu that you could click on and interact with. The desktop, go ahead to that again. I think, of course, there's improvements, as far as keeping your margins consistent between the right and the left side. Your margin on the left is way too tight versus the margin on the right, little things like that. But all of those considerations can be adjusted. But again, this is just your first brushstroke. I think this is the more appropriate brushstroke.
Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, I wanted to use this softer imagery when I did my analyses on the existing website and the competitors, all the images, they're like, people on crutches, people who've got hit by cars, like there's someone lying in the middle of the road and like
So here's what you can speak to when you're kind of representing your intention. You're kind of selling peace of mind. So all of you are going to get used to thinking about how you intentionally sell your solutions. I know you think you might just be a designer, but you're not just a designer. You are selling business, you're selling design. And so when you continue to practice on how to speak and how you're sort of like representing your intention, what you're representing here is peace of mind. This image shows this person, and it's kind of, like either a sunrise or it's probably a sunrise, right? They're going on a morning walk. They have peace of mind.
Yeah.
And this law firm has helped them get there. Because there are some law firms that sell not peace of mind, but they sell, it's like you're sort of in this dire strait and they're ready to solve that for you. I think selling peace of mind is far more effective than trying to solve this dynamic issue. So that's kind of, that's sort of the way I interpret it and how I want you to think about the language when you're sort of representing what you're trying to represent here. You're trying to represent peace of mind.
Okay. Yeah.
How does that sound?
That sounds right. That sounds like I wouldn't have known to use those words, but that is,
yeah,
like you did describe like kind of what I wanted to convey.
So, yeah, man, that's how I interpret it and that's how I would sell it to the client. I'd come to them, I would say, I'm not sure, if we would go back to your creative questionnaire, there's probably some of those adjectives in there. I would pull some of those adjectives and you need to speak to that as well. All of you, everybody, every person here, listen, like when you're speaking to your design, you're speaking to your solutions, you need to reference what's in your creative questionnaire. You need to reference those adjectives and those talking points, bring those back into your conversation. It is key to reference what was in that creative questioning. All right. So
did I do my wireframes now?
Yes, please do.
Okay. This is as far as I got.
That's great. Low fidelity. Excellent.
Yeah. And yeah, just the one thing I noticed on their existing website, but they have so much content and so much body copy that my main thing was, okay, what's the most important parts to keep? How can I condense it
Yeah.
What's the information there? So I'm thinking a lot of this is going to be links to like more info or read
Sure.
more, like
Yeah.
if they want it, because
Right.
I do think that some of these target audiences are a bit, more of people who will do the reading and people
Right.
who read because they're looking for specific things. So I do think it's okay, or it's going to be okay to have a lot of body in some places.
Yeah, but not necessarily for the home. The home
No.
is a place to scan, like you said. So, people are here to quickly scan the home page and then choose, like based off your user flow, where that particular person is going to go. So, yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And yeah, I was
So tell me about the sections here. You got a hero, a
Mhm.
practice area,
Yeah.
info vids, Rex. What is that?
Recommendations.
Recommendations. Okay, great. And then a contact form.
Yeah, form, name, address, what's your situation,
Yeah.
submit for a consultation, whatever.
Now, do you see that being on all pages?
No, I didn't think so.
Could be a consideration.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I did, so the little call to action sticky I plan to have there with like
Oh, okay.
to have, in my research, I kind of thought that the client, they're going to want to be able to reach out and contact at any moment while they're reading. Like
Yeah.
they're scanning the page, they're scanning the page, and then the moment they decide, okay, these guys are for me, they need to be able to
Yeah.
call or something. So that was the idea behind that.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's a great feature. I'm sure everybody here in the class has experienced that type of bug or widget. We call it a widget.
Legit.
So that particular widget where it's like, hello, can I help you today? Do you have a question? So it's sort of like a little AI bot widget that kind of pops up, and it can be very useful when used when applied in the right way. So I think in a case like this, yeah, like this little widget, and I think you should consider it in your design where it feels a bit, you know, almost like a real human. You can pretend like it's a real human where it could pop up and now it maybe just kind of goes across the screen and let's say it's Jan, Jan from the office. Hi, my name is Jan. Like, is there anything I can help you out with today? Can I, do you have a question about this or that? So it becomes very personable. So those kind of widgets can be very useful up front.
Okay. Yeah, I see that all over the web. Like, they give them names and
Yeah.
let me know if you need anything.
Right,
But
exactly. And again, they can be useful in some cases and they can be annoying as hell in other cases.
so the practice areas are they do personal injury and business litigation. So there would be two sections right here, one section for personal injury, and then we can swipe over to business litigation. And then informational vids, I just thought there could be like um, some videos of maybe what this firm does or have done because they do have videos on the site, but then this page could also be a doorway to like a library of the videos.
Right.
If people say like, oh yeah, I do want to watch some videos,
Right.
then they can choose to,
Well, especially testimonials and stuff like that. There could be some testimonials, there could be process videos, there could be, here's our firm. Like, yeah, there could be, who knows, a variety of videos that could sit in. So yeah, I like that.
yeah.
Useful.
One thing when I was doing this, I wasn't sure how important it is to notate, um, or I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I guess I just wasn't sure if I was kind of doing it right. I know
I
it
think you
looks
are. Yeah,
okay.
you're absolutely doing it, especially with the low fidelity. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Great job on this low fidelity. So the next phase up is taking this, starting to bring in real content, starting to think about true interaction. You know, maybe the video section could be a carousel of videos that maybe you could swipe through. You could think about that. So yeah, the next step is integrating a bit more detail. And then of course the high fidelity, reference the examples I gave you. It's going to have even like real content lengths, you know, how much copy is actually going to be there. And like what that call to action button is really going to say and what it intends to be.
Those are high fidelity with those
Yeah,
details.
everything from medium to high fidelity. Yeah, you're going to get, so, you know, reference the examples I gave you.
Okay.
Good job. Yeah, I think
Thank you.
this is a great low fidelity sketch. Yeah, thinking. Excellent. Good work. Did anybody have any thoughts or questions about Carl's work? No?
Yeah.
Yes.
I felt his hero sections, the contrast of that light brown on top of the other brown wasn't strong enough.
Excellent. I'm glad you brought that up, Emily. I thought so too. But I was hoping to kind of keep some things open for other people to say. So yes, couldn't agree with you more. Even though we're not, you know, too far down the whole color thing, but I like the way that Emily had sort of communicated her feedback. Is it's really not necessarily, she didn't really have this idea about the brown. It just said there's not enough contrast. So excellent feedback, Emily. Yeah, Shaver.
I really like how the McClellan law firm, how like that sun was kind of like shining almost like through the logo, like the use of that picture and the formatting of that.
The first one? The first,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I just think my comment would be like, I'm not sure if that type, and this might just be personal,
Yeah.
but like when I think of a law firm, I think of like, I kind of want someone like, you know, slick and serious and, you know, and I don't kind of think of that kind of like, it was looked like a semi-bold serif almost, like it almost looked like a teacher type face.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if it like maybe could use like more of like a slicker look, like, you know, like the sun shining through like a slicker type. I don't know.
So I'm gonna improve on your vernacular on that one. Dependable, not, you know, instead of like slick.
Yeah, yeah.
I know what you're going for, but yeah, when it comes to law firms, you really want somebody that you can depend on, that has your best interests in place. And I agree with you. That particular font, that serif can almost look a bit too delicate and not weighty enough, you know, not stable enough. And that's, I agree with you, Shaver. You know, when you think of the personality of the font itself and how it represents the tone and the messaging, you want to make sure that you're choosing a font that represents sort of the character of the company. And so I agree with you. It could be something that's a bit more kind of weighty and that feels a bit more dependable instead of, you know, so sort of light and delicate.
Yeah, their actual logo is kind of clunky and unbalanced. And so that was just, Bradford said, just use like a word mark in place of it if you don't want to put it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
And I agree. You're absolutely right. You don't want to redesign their logo. So just kind of use one, just use a typographic version, but maybe explore some other variations that feel a bit weightier.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Anybody else got any feedback for Carl? No? Okay. Who wants to be the next volunteer? I know somebody else out here has got some work in progress they could share. Dana.
Donna.
Donna. Sorry, Donna. I'm so sorry. I'm still
Okay.
remembering. Donna, yes.
So, I'm also doing a law firm, but I went for a completely different vibe than Carl. Um,
Great. I love it.
um, the law firm itself, they're in their messaging, they say that they're into like they'll fight for you. Like they'll fight hell on earth for you. So, and also for my portfolio, I thought it would be nice to go for something more serious, clean, and slick. So that's what I was trying to do with this.
Confident, not slick.
Oh, yes, confident. So this is my
I'm just teaching you guys language that sounds better in front of a client.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that's helpful.
Yep.
So this is what the web would look like, and then this is the mobile.
Okay.
Doing this like oversized type vibe is really hard for mobile.
I don't think so. I think I really like sort of this particular approach, but I'm going to go back to actually our lesson and our lecture where you start looking at the leading, how
Yeah.
you get your desktop. The leading looks really good, but then you have too much leading in the mobile. It starts falling apart.
Yeah, I just noticed that too.
Yeah, which is
Can you can you solve a problem like that by putting it in on mobile as an image instead of as trying to type it in to fix that?
You could, but I mean that could just be programmed, Carolyn, as far as percentages go. So it really wouldn't. I can't imagine it necessarily would change, and that's why, if you went from mobile to desktop, that leading would still be the same, and it would be better to have it tighter. So my initial response is, I think this is a really sophisticated approach, Donna, for a law firm. I think it definitely speaks confidence. It speaks, uh, seriousness. It speaks dependability. The black and white approach. I'm not sure if that's really intentional, if you're considering going down that approach, but
Yeah.
I think it's very sophisticated. Now, when it comes to font pairing and also caps, we just talked about that. I think that you need to stay consistent with thinking about where, your tagline. That weight of the font doesn't match the tone of the message.
Oh, okay.
Here to fight for you. Like that's a bold, punchy
Claim.
statement, right?
Yeah.
It should be a thicker weight of your font, and it should probably be title case.
It was originally I like condensed this to show for everyone. But there's a lot of options that I did. But then I was thinking if everything is all caps, then I felt like I wasn't really emphasizing anything.
I agree. That's why here to fight for you could just be title case, not all caps.
Oh, okay.
So where it would be is, here, right? Uppercase H, fight, uppercase F, for, uppercase F, and then you could be uppercase Y. And then, maybe there could be a period in it at the end. And also the T for two, how I was mentioning, I wouldn't mind, like, just go ahead and make the T in two also uppercase. So it has kind of a visual rhythm to it.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, and then go with a thicker weight of that font for sure. Let me see the desktop again. So, yeah, I really like this. I just think it's attorneys most of the time are, you're looking for a confident person, and that's a big, bold statement. So I'd like Fitzgerald. How do you say the last part? Nair?
Yeah, Nair, I think.
Fitzgerald Nair, here to fight for you. Boom. I like that. I think it speaks confidence.
And then I wasn't sure if we were supposed to try different messaging on each one.
That's up to you.
Oh, okay. But this is one that only explored type, and then there's another option too.
Hmm.
And then
So
this is
you're leading with the message, which I like this variation quite a bit that you've explored, Donna. Where the first one is leading with the agency's name, but here I think this is a much more effective way to lead on a homepage is to lead with their messaging. Here to fight for you. You know, we fight hard and smart. I don't think you need the period in that last part. It just looks a
yeah.
little odd. But I think this is far more effective to lead with a statement versus their name. But I
Okay.
kind of like the typography in the first one. I don't know. It might not work because it's a much longer message, but you'll have to explore that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
And should I move to the third one?
sure.
Okay. And then this is the third
Ooh,
one.
yeah.
And then
Oh, the good old what the it looks like the steps to, you know, the courthouse, right? So I'm going to challenge you a little bit with this and in the imagery. So I just, I mean, what I do like about your choice is it's very moody and graphic. And I get like what you're kind of saying. Like, I also like the dynamic quality of how you position. It's not just a straight image. You've got this incredible dynamic angles. It works awesome. Like, it really does. But I don't know, like I'm really missing the human element, and I'd like to see it in one of these options where you kind of bring in the human element in it a bit more. Um, because I don't hate this image at all. It's very dynamic, but I'd like to see one option, one direction that brings in the human element.
okay.
Like maybe it's a confident image of one of the attorneys or a representative of the attorney. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the real person, but it could be just don't do people crossing their arms and doing this.
Okay. Yeah.
Ugh, right? I
Yeah.
like, you know, I really like the dynamic quality of this image that you chose.
Okay. I'll definitely try those.
Yeah. Here to fight for you, we fight hard and smart. So Fitzgerald Nair, book consultant. Yeah. It's just, yeah,
And then
strong.
I guess this is a
Yeah.
kind of a question. I tried out different navigation layouts. Is
Mhm.
there like, does it really matter?
No, I like where you're going with the navigation layouts. I think you have a good sense of space in typograph, like the typography that you're already starting to explore, and you know the spacing of your layout. I think you have a good sensibility of contrast and space already. Um, so I like that quite a bit. I like the variations, and I think they all have their pros. Um, Go to the last one. The last one shows yeah, you know, you just have the navigation real clean. It's just center aligned, but then you have sort of this compact typographic, you know, name and support header with the call to action and this negative space. So I mean they're all really good solutions.
So like any of them could work.
I think any of them could work.
Oh, okay.
Let's open it up to the group. Come on, group. Speak up. Somebody.
I like this one, the last one,
Yeah. Okay.
but I
Why?
would change the image as well.
Why, Joshua? Why do you like it better?
Uh, what I like about it is the typography and how it's laid out. The
Okay.
navigation bar is also very clean. It blends in with the image in the background. But not only that, but it's just really clean and evenly spaced.
Okay.
It's all center aligned. And the typography in the middle, well, lower middle, it's perfectly bold, very visible and accessible. And it's just the image. I would change the image as well. That's the only thing I'd change, just the image.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I'm so on the fence because I think what you did was it's very dynamic and I love the angles of this image. Um that's the reason why I'm yes, I really like the contrast of the angles to the horizontal nature of the typography. It creates a incredible contrast between the two. So yeah, that's why I still like this quite a bit. Ezekiel, are you there?
Yes.
Do you have some thoughts around these options?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Okay. How about somebody else? Janet, you have some thoughts around these options.
Yeah, I really like what she did with the type and like the mood around the entire design. And I
All
just
three of
feel
them,
like
or just this one?
um I think this one, yeah.
Tersa was asking if we could go back to the first one. Look at
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how in the third one, the whole image was like in the background. I thought
Mhm.
that was very impactful.
Mhm.
Not that there's anything wrong with the first one per se, but I think it's like really eye-catching with
Mhm.
the entire image, like
Mhm.
layered in the back with the type
Yeah.
and layered in the front.
You know what I get on this one? I like this one a lot, but I have a tendency to favor like extra condensed bold fonts. It's just always been a personal preference, as you can tell with folklore. This one gives me like cinematic movie vibes to it, doesn't it?
It does.
Doesn't it? Yeah, Janet.
Yeah.
It kind
Like
of
that old
has
school
like,
timey kind of
yeah,
feel.
go to the mobile version of this one, please, Donna.
Yes.
Same here, right? But I don't have a problem with that. Like I really don't. It's not like that's a bad thing to shy away from. But it does have this really sort of like moody cinematic vibe to it that I think is, again, I'll use that term dynamic. It's very dynamic. So
I was gonna say on, your dilemma with the type looking smaller on mobile, like on desktop, it's so in your face that I can see how this does feel a little less so. But I think if you could actually shrink down the image a little bit and shrink down the tagline just a touch more, and when you make everything else a little bit smaller, then that text will look a little bit bigger.
Oh, that's true.
yeah, there's definitely some
I'll definitely
exploration you
do
can have
that.
in the contrasted size. Awesome. Yeah, this is a great start, Donna. I appreciate it. Again, I think you have a knack for contrast and typography and also spatial relationship in your design. So all of these are very interesting.
Oh, thank you. Should I show my wireframes or does someone
Yeah,
else want to go? Oh, okay.
go ahead and walk through it.
So I already sketched these like right after Bradford's class. So then I just,
Yep.
actually did them. So I don't know if you want to see it like
Yeah.
scroll. Oh, okay.
Just kind of walk us through what you would like to speak to. Also, I haven't been breaking up, right, since I switched Wi-Fi.
No.
No, you've been smooth.
The Starlink was real spotty. So, yeah.
Um, Okay, wait. Okay, I'm just, I don't know what's.
Yeah, just show us like this. This is fine.
So for the hero page, I kind of just left that not as developed because essentially any of those heroes will just be laid out here.
Yep.
But this was inspired by the website you showed us with the oversized text. It's like mammoth.
Yeah, Mammoth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I really liked that. And it would just be a little about us.
Yeah.
And then here it would be a quick showcase of all the expertise, and
Right.
it would just be a drop-down menu to
Yeah.
read more about it.
Great.
And then I thought it would be good to add some client testimonials because on their website they'll like say that, oh, we've worked with a lot of big clients and a lot of big companies and we've defended them, but they don't really say who. So I
Right.
thought it would be nice to add. And then I just did a footer. And then here's that on mobile.
Great. This is a great medium fidelity wireframe for sure. This is a very good example to everybody of what, where you've gone from a low fidelity sketches to a medium fidelity where you just have black and white boxes, not real copy yet, but you're getting a sense of the functionality and the flow and where content is at. And so the next step that you'll end up going, Donna, is to start putting in real copy into your buttons and call to actions, putting in the name, things like that. So that's going to be your next step for this. So I want to ask you something because I'm not sure if you've gotten there yet. Let's go down to those drop downs. What type of functionality are you considering when it comes to these kind of drop downs or what we call drawers?
It would be like, do you mean like the animation of it?
No, just the functionality. So you probably haven't even considered it yet, but there's things that you can do when it comes to the functionality of this. So let's say you click on the first one. What happens if you don't close it and then you go to the next one? Have you thought about that?
I would assume that one would close and the next one would open.
Perfect. That's what I was getting to. Exactly. So those are just certain considerations that you're going to want to think about when you're expressing your high fidelity wireframe for functionality for things like this. So,
okay.
Some people, I'm actually gonna take over here real quick. I'm gonna share my screen. So I went ahead and pulled up my APX hockey site. So here's an example, right here. So if I click on this and then I go over here, my client they didn't want the other one to close.
Yeah.
So they wanted you to be able to, actually, I take that back. It's based off of columns. So if you're in one column and you click on this, then it closes the other one in that column. But if you come over here to this column, it doesn't close the other side. So it is a little inconsistent. It's kind of weird. I don't know why it's not. It closes this one. That might be a slight little hiccup in Squarespace. So those are just things you need to consider, okay?
Okay.
Does it close when you go and click on the other one? Or does it keep it open in this column the way this column's working?
Okay.
So it might just be a little functionality hiccup in this particular page, but I just want you to consider that, okay?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing so you can go back.
Oh, okay.
There you go. All right, good job.
Thank you.
This is awesome. May I ask two questions?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to make this medium fidelity mock-up or wireframe?
Maybe like this one for sure it took an hour, and then
I
this
see.
maybe like 40 minutes, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours total. That's
Yeah.
good.
Awesome.
That's good. I'm glad that's a good question because, and you'll get quicker. Donna, you might have a lot more experience in Figma than some of the other students, right? So if you have more experience in Figma, then I can understand why it only took you 2 hours. Where there might be somebody else here that doesn't have as much experience in Figma, and it might end up taking them 4 hours because they're still learning Figma. So I don't want other people in the class to go, oh my God, like I'm a loser because it's taken me 4 hours to do a medium fidelity wireframe. You just might not have as much experience as Donna.
Yeah, I think this is an accumulation of like all the other classes have a assignment where you build in a website. So I was definitely not good at first. So this is just everything I've learned.
Good. See, and I wanted you to express that because I don't want other students to feel frustrated that maybe it's taking them a little bit longer because they just don't have as much experience. So I do think, just once you start getting a bit more time under your belt for Figma, try not to spend any more than 2 hours on a medium fidelity. Like it's just boxes, right? It's just boxes. Just get the boxes in and try to like work through a little bit of that functionality and a little bit of that flow. So Ezekiel, I felt that before actually. What do you mean about you felt that before? Can you elaborate on that, Ezekiel? Nope. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Anyways, anybody else? Who's next? Anybody? Nobody's got any work in progress?
I still need a plan. Still need a plan and figure out how I'm gonna lay it out.
Yeah. Donna, you're still sharing. You can stop sharing if you want.
Oh, was I? How do
Yeah.
I?
Should be a button, like a red
Doesn't
button
show
above
that
your
I
Zoom
did
screen
though.
that says stop sharing.
Yeah, it should just right up there. It should say stop sharing.
Um, it doesn't show that for me. Do you think?
It should be like your little bar, that little Zoom bar, and it should be highlighted red, and it says stop sharing.
It disappeared for me.
So
Oh
hit
no.
your escape button. It should come back.
Oh, okay.
Did that work?
Yeah, thank you.
Good call.
So, again, anybody else brave enough to share their work in progress? No brave souls out there. All right. Well, what about their personas? Does anybody want to share their personas? Joshua?
I do.
Okay. Go for it.
Let me pull them up.
The sun's really coming out right now. I'm going to have to scoot over. There you go. That's better for me. There you go. That's way better. Sun's not in my eyes.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Let's see here. So I have four personas here.
Great.
To start off, we have Oscar, Archetype Explorer.
Can you pause real quick? Can you tell us
Course.
what your company's about and who they are?
Oh, right, of course. My company is called Botanica. It's a mix, like two interests in one. So it's a plant shop with a ceramic studio inside of it.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
that is cool.
And I don't believe there is any other plant store like it
Okay.
that combines both a plant shop and a ceramic studio.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a very, very unique sort of operation.
Yeah. So here we have Oscar, Archetype Explorer. He's 23 years old. He's a full-time student at San Diego State University, and he lives in San Diego, California. So Oscar's a student who wants to get into owning a plant to freshen up the feel in his house and get away from the stress of college and homework to bring a bit of nature into his home. He not only wants to bring in nature into his home, but he wants to learn how to take effective care of his new plant that'll be staying with him for a good while.
Mhm.
He graduated from San Diego City College and transferred over to San Diego State University to major in finance. A journey with a step in the right direction is a better one than a journey without direction.
Okay.
And I've
Very good.
implemented the sliders here. He's a little bit more on the introverted side.
Yeah.
He's a bit creative,
Mm-hmm.
leaning more into the creative side, and he's pretty busy considering he's a student, full-time student. And for his needs and expectations, I put guidance and instruction on a plant for a beginner. That's one need that he needs. An expectation is helpful staff that explain details in clear and concise details, letting him know what he needs and what plant he should get and what would be best for him as a beginner. Pain points and frustrations, unable to receive guidance on which plant to get as a beginner, and unhelpful staff and websites that aren't accessible or clear.
Yep.
And as for goals, oh, whoops. I should
Okay.
probably do the share thing. Able to present.
So yeah, the present model.
Doesn't seem like it.
Okay. Yeah, we're all right.
Unfortunate. Oh well.
That's okay.
Goals to be able to take good care of his starter plant and to learn effective caretaking techniques for his plant.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
here,
hold on. Yeah, hold on one second.
sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Does anybody else see sort of this big sort of black tall rectangle?
Yeah, on the right.
Yeah. Does anybody know what that is? No.
Black
Oh, you know what I
rectangle.
bet it is? It's the zoom. Yeah, what is
Oh
it?
yeah. Do you see me moving it?
Yeah, is that the screen of everybody? It's like,
Oh yeah. I apologize.
there you go. Perfect. Thanks for sliding
Here,
that.
I'll hide it.
Yeah, that's even better if you could hide that.
There we go. Yeah, I apologize.
No, it's fine. You didn't even know it was there. So
Yeah, I didn't. But we're
great.
figuring it out.
Can you just scan across all of them real quick?
Yeah, of course. Maybe I should zoom in a little
Sarah,
bit.
we got Oscar, and
You
then
got
the next person
Sarah
is Sarah, and then the next person is
right down here.
Ellie,
Ellie.
right? Ellie, okay,
Yep.
great.
Ellie, apprentice.
Okay. And then next, the last one
Tony.
is Tony. Excellent. Okay. So first of all, just kind of scanning across all of them. I think you've done a great job of representing a wide range of personalities and persona types. I think that's great. Did a great job with that. If we go to the first one,
Of course.
since that's the one that we sort of talked about, I also want to ask, like, did you create these images with AI or are these real photos?
Oh yeah, I'm glad you asked. I was gonna start using images from Unsplash, but because there were such limited selections, like I just use AI, whatever.
Awesome.
And
Great job.
I used Gemini actually, and Gemini
Yeah.
was really good, like with its image generation.
Yeah.
It works similarly to ChatGPT, but maybe a bit
Better.
better.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good. Yeah, I really like the images. I feel like they feel authentic and just personable. They also look very professional. I like sort of the variation too, where kind of this particular image is, the person looking at the camera, but then the last one is the person actually doing the ceramics. So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then the second one, she's with plants, kind of showing her enthusiasm and her love for the plants. So I think you did a great job with image selection and creation.
Thank you.
I think I also like the format that you've created where it feels very like high fidelity and it's a great flow. You got this image, you got the person's name, you got sort of who, sort of their type is, and then you immediately kind of go into these bullet points of who they are and their bio. So overall, great job on the formatting, great job on the variations in the image creation. Awesome job with that stuff.
Thank you very much. I would have made like a fully full template from scratch, but I was just having such a hard time figuring out Figma, so I just decided I'll use a little bit of the template with my own little twist to it.
Perfect. That's a great way. That's exactly how you use the tools. So now I'm going to kind of get in to just a little bit of fine tuning. Okay.
Of course.
So go ahead and
Lay it
just,
on me.
because this stuff applies, so far from what I've seen, it applies to all of them. So go ahead and just zoom in on Oscar for
Last one or
sorry, Oscar,
Oscar?
since that's the one you walked us through.
Yep.
All right. So just, again, some fine tuning. I would improve on even like, those topics that I ran through the lecture when it comes to typography, and that's your grouping spacing. So
here, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So your spacing between your header and the support copy is too much. And so
Right.
and this is right. This is a perfect example. Needs, expectations, pain points, and frustrations. You got too much space between the support copy and the header, and it's sort of falling apart and floating too much. So
True.
what you need to do is you need to connect those bullet points to that header more. And so there's not so many gaps between the two.
Got it.
All right, let me get this here. And then what that would also apply to is your bio. So bring that stuff up there. And then what it would also do is your quote, you can help, like it would allow you to have more space for that quote to stand out more. Maybe the quote
Maybe the quote stays at the top, right?
No, I think
No.
it's fine at the bottom, but I would treat it
Okay.
differently. I would maybe stylize it to be maybe a medium weight italic,
That is a good idea.
right? So it kind of stands out. You have you're exercising those different things that I called out in my lecture, where you're using different weights and variations of a font to make it stand out. So when it comes to quotes, you could, just make it italic, a thicker weight, and it would stand out more. As a matter of fact, do it right now since you're live.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead and select that. Let's do a working session. Whoops. There you go.
Okay.
Now go to your font.
Let's what would the fonts be?
That's
Yeah.
Fig Jam, right? Isn't Fig
I
Jam
think this
kind
is
of
Fig
like
Jam,
really
yeah.
limited on fonts that you can use?
Okay, that's fine. So go ahead and click on that, and that's the size. Well, first of all, take that entire box. Let's just select the box of copy, all of that copy box.
Okay.
Whoops. No, you actually have to select the box, not the. Now move that up. Just move the whole thing up.
Come on.
There you go. Okay. So now you've connected the copy, the bio, to its header. Now what you can do is all of the bio copy, select that bio copy.
Like all of it inside?
Yeah, not the quote, but the bio copy.
Oh, right.
There you go. And now make that smaller. So where it says extra large, go to large. Wow, that's a big difference between large and extra large.
Yeah.
Yikes. Go back to extra large. Okay. Actually, click on that box again where it says extra large.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Go down. You actually have numbers you can adjust. Drop that down. Try to change that to like 55.
Set to 55.
There you go. Now we got more control.
Yep.
Okay. Now select that quote. And do you have a italic? You don't have italic. So just
Yeah,
hit
no, just
bold.
bold.
Just bold it.
Ooh.
Right. So now what you're doing, as far as you're improving how your messaging stands out, you see how that already looks better. And now you have this sort of this visual hierarchy because
Yeah,
of
much better.
size and also weight.
Mm-hmm.
Now go over to your other section. And now let's adjust that spacing. And let's try to get that spacing. Select that text box area and move that up.
Come on, big jam.
Yeah, Fig Jam is. There you go. Keep moving it up. Keep going up. There you go. Now it's closer to that. Now you can adjust all of those underneath it. There you go. And now, yeah, there you
Select
go.
all of this.
Exactly.
Move it up a
Bump
little
those
bit.
up. Yeah, there you go. Good job on that. Now you see we've kind of like we've adjusted some spacing, we've adjusted some weight issues, and now all of that stuff looks better and flows better. Okay.
This needs to go up a little bit, just a little bit. Actually fine right there.
And you can apply that stuff on to all the other ones.
Yeah.
You can do that later on.
Yeah, I'll do that later on. There's too much work right
do it
now.
later on. So I'm gonna pause. Also, does anybody else see anything else based off of the lecture that Joshua could improve on?
I'm thinking where it says Archetype Explorer, that's kind of centered where the name and everything under it is left aligned and it looks a little off.
Right, exactly.
So just move this a little bit to the left.
Yeah. I was hoping somebody was going to say that. Yeah. Anything else?
You can make the archetype explorer up just a little bit closer to Oscar.
I agree too. Yeah. There you go. All of that stuff is improving. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Because I see a few more things that he could improve on just to make it even better. And this is based off the lecture of what we talked about today.
I'm not sure
How
if
about
this is
casing? The case, how he's using either sentence case, title case, or uppercase. Does anybody got any suggestions around how to improve that?
In the personality area. Sorry for interrupting that.
That's all right.
Melinda, go ahead.
It's just like the body copy. For some reason, it just like it doesn't like the quote proportion to the body copy. It's just too close for me. Like it's like there's contrast, but I think if the body copy was shrinking down a little bit more, the bio was a little bit bigger, like having that quote have more of a pop effect. It's not all the way there. It's just like halfway there.
So make this a little bit smaller.
Yeah, you can make it maybe bump it down to it does give it more contrast. So
maybe even the bio title doesn't even really need to be there because I feel like the quote being more of that pop out, like it would just naturally bring me to that chunk. Like, if it's if the quote is attracting enough, I'm gonna like want to read that because I feel like I'd want to read the bio first and I'd want to look at quick glance things first, like the meters you have in the upper right corner. I feel like they kind of blend in to like the fact that you did like that whole box, you know, like the green box, like it makes all that information come together instead of making that slide bar be like, I want to look at the slide bar, I want to read about this guy, and then I'll get into the nitty-gritty. That's just like,
Yeah. I agree. Like, I think that's a good point. I don't think you really need that title bio. You know, you could probably get rid of that, just remove that whole text box. And yeah, just move that copy up a bit. And then go even bigger. Maybe you can go bigger with that quote to make it stand out even more.
one more is the quote, like maybe hanging the quote more, like putting it in from the paragraph, so it's kind of more of its more separate thing instead of it being so aligned.
So, you know, you can adjust Joshua, you can explore a lot of that stuff, but I think that's some good feedback.
Yeah, that's great.
Kind of get you right there. So what I was hoping somebody would point out is case, you know, how he could improve on the case. So you look at needs and expectations, pain points and frustrations. Like, I really think that all that stuff should be title case. Don't you guys agree? Somebody? No? Like, I feel like, no, not increase the size. You would just do
like upper to
the
lower
A and make that uppercase.
Oh, like all this uppercase?
No, the A in and.
Oh.
There you go. And the E in expectation. There you go. Now that's title case. Now do that in the other one. P in points, A in and, F in frustration. Okay. So you see how now that feels a bit more of like a subheader, everyone? That we did that. And
please space it out too a little bit.
Yeah, definitely could use some spacing. And then one last thing here, and we're going to move on, is inconsistencies in how you're applying bullet points. So over there in the bio, you got 23 full-time San Diego. You're using these dots, but over here you're using
I'm using arrows, yeah.
Carrots. I think they're called carrots or arrows. So I don't even know I don't know. I'm just an advocate of, I think people overdo bullet points. I don't even think you need them over here. I think it's way cleaner to just like have them there, and you don't necessarily even need all those bullet points. Let's see.
In that same place, Joshua, you probably don't need the periods on the end of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That too. So I don't know what happened over there in your bio, but there's a weird extra spacing.
Yeah, there's a rag. I tried to fix it, but I couldn't.
You can fix it later.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't worry about it for now. So, all right. So I think all of those are, again, you know, just kind of fine tuning to make this look better. You can continue to sort of explore this a little bit more and then also apply it to the other ones. Okay, Joshua?
Will do.
Can I ask a quick question before we leave?
Yeah.
Of course.
On the quote with the last word being direction, is that okay since it's a quote, or is it better to have there be the spacing change so you don't have that widow or whatever that's called? I feel like I've seen it in quotes and not had professors mention it, so I didn't know if that was a special thing with quotes. Yeah.
Well, sorry, can you repeat that? What was that one more time?
Regarding the widow in the quote, I feel like I've seen places in professional design where I do see a widow in a quote, and I didn't know if there was in a quote it's more accepted than in body copy type of thing.
So Carolyn, since you brought this up, can you explain the difference between a widow and an orphan?
Probably not. One of them I believe is at the end, and one of them is when it jumps to the top of the next column, I think.
Yeah, so
but I get them confused.
I know they sometimes can be confusing. Can somebody Google that real quick, please? Do I have a volunteer to explain the differences between widows and orphans in typography?
Isn't there like a saying where like the orphans start alone and then the widows end alone?
Say that again. What was it?
Like the
Oh,
orphan
I like that.
alone, then the widow's end alone or something.
Gotcha. Huh.
Yeah, the way I think of it is that so an orphan has no parents. So like an orphan is at the top. It's like a single line at the top, right, of body copy with no other.
And a widow is one word hanging out all by herself.
All by herself, exactly. Yeah.
So direction is a widow.
Yeah.
And is there a rule regarding a quote and a widow that may be different than body copy?
Yeah, it's a good one. You know, we're definitely, I love these kind of conversations because ideally, if you have control over it, avoid it. So there's several things that Joshua could do. One is he could decrease the font size to get rid of that widow. So go up there, remember, click on that and maybe go down to 85. There you go. But now what do we have? Hold on. Now we have an orphan, the A. So here's what you could do. Do a soft break on A. You know the difference between a soft break? Shift return. No, the A at the end, that's an orphan where it says is a.
Oh, here.
That's an orphan. So go in before that, do shift return. Now you just did a soft return. Now you see how that's super clean. That looks really good.
I like that.
Yeah. So, and that's, I mean, again, you know, for everyone here, we're definitely getting into a lot of fine tuning, which I geek out on this stuff. Like I just absolutely love fine tuning typography. So it's going to be something that you continue to get better and better at. You'll have a better eye for it. But all of these things, when we're talking about rivers and rags and orphans and widows, you know, you're gonna continue to get better at seeing those things and being able to adjust them, especially in a static, and I use the term static design. It's much harder to control that stuff in a dynamic design like a website. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good job, Joshua. Thank you.
Thank you.
Learned a lot on that one.
I really did.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything else to share? No? You guys are making my life easier. We might just give you some time back, extra half hour here. Let me just go back to the presentation real quick. Because to be honest with you, I am starving. I haven't eaten since 7 o'clock this morning. I realize.
Dude, you gotta eat.
I know. I just realized I've been traveling all day long. And I'm like, I wonder why I'm so darn hungry. So anyways, everybody knows, right? Everybody understands what the current assignment is. The current assignment, we looked at some examples today. Persona user flows, wireframes, homepage, detail page, and they need to be mobile and desktop, just like we saw examples today. Great job. We saw some great examples of hero sections. Excellent. Unfortunately, we didn't see any user flows today, but we need to see user flows based off of these. So that is our current assignment, and it is due next week, next Wednesday, right? March 12th. Here's examples of user flow. This is in the presentation, the lecture again. Wireframes, low fidelity sketches, examples of low fidelity, high fidelity, and final design. Next, that is not correct. The lecture, what the heck is the lecture? Hold on, let me look this up. Sorry, give me 1 second and I'll have that. Rules for better typography. Oh boy. Web accessibility. Fun, fun, fun. Let's go back here. Web accessibility. So, all right, that's going to be the lecture for next week. And then we'll have Monday to check in. I do expect that we have a lot more to share. Okay. Be prepared. On Monday, we're going to do breakout rooms. And I expect everybody, okay? So everybody pay attention, please. Every single person should have something to share in their breakout rooms on this assignment. If you don't have something to share next Monday, you're in trouble. Not with me, but you're in trouble because you are way behind. So I'm warning you. You are going to be you're going to be way behind if you don't have something to share next Monday. Yes, Carl.
So as far as the user flows that we're going to be doing over the weekend, I remember the slide with the user flows on it. I don't remember like going into detail on user flows though, and how to plan these out. Do you have a good recommendation for a resource of like where to learn how to lay these out and plan them?
Sure. Okay. So great question. What you can do based off the personas is you got your persona. So let's say it's, Paul, what's your company again?
The law firm.
Law firm. And what's one of your personas?
I've like a small business owner.
Okay. So you're going to say small business owner. And what you're going to do is you're going to show, based off the sitemap that you did, you're going to show sort of where that small business owner, where they would go based off the sitemap. So it's your sitemap. You already created a sitemap. So you would highlight the different areas that person would go to based off that sitemap. So you would highlight, let's say the start would be maybe the home page, right? You highlight that home page, and then you would show them maybe go to the about page, and then maybe they would go to the contact page, and that's it. That's their user flow.
Okay.
I mean, it can be as simple as that, Carl, like really simple. Or if you seriously just tell me, like you go, well, based off of this particular person, their flow, they went from the home page to the contact page, and that was it, done. It could be that simple. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great question. Thank you. I appreciate it. Losip.
It's Joseph. I can show my user flow if you need.
Sorry. Joseph.
I can show my user flow.
Great. Excellent. Share your screen.
Sure. Can you
So
see
we
it?
should have one user flow for each persona. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. You should have 4 user flows. And they don't have to be complicated, everyone. So, Joseph, I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
You should be able to just
Can you see it?
No, I still don't see it.
Let me share.
It's okay. If you want to send me the link to it, I can always share.
Oh yeah, I can do that too.
Okay, in the chat.
Yeah.
I can see it. Can anyone else see it? Oh, sorry.
I can't see it.
Oh,
no?
I can see it.
Can you see it?
Weird. Hold on for a second.
I'll drop the link too. So
This is the same thing that happened to me earlier, and somehow I created 2 different windows, and I had one that says Paul's meeting and then one that says like the other person's screen. So look at your top and see if you happen to do that. I've never done it before, but that's what happened to me earlier when I couldn't see it.
Well, I'm gonna I'm going to go in here. Oh, excellent. Oh, wow. Good job so far. I already like it.
Yeah, I made it real simple. So it starts on the home page.
Exactly. Hold on
Yeah.
just a second. Open here instead. Actually, I think hold on, it jumped over to Figma. Give me 1 second. Let me jump over.
Yeah, of course.
Yep, there you go. And let's see. Figma. 1 second. And then let me close this up. Close it up. And then you know what you can do, people, when you're doing something like this? You can follow. Like usually, hold on. It is, there you go. See how I've spotlighted him, even though I'm sharing? So there you go. We're going to follow you.
Yeah, so here's the start.
Yep.
It goes to the homepage.
Okay.
From the homepage, you can go to the services, about page, and contact us.
Okay.
And on the contact page, I made a loop. So it asks you, like, do you want to register? If you say no, you can contact by filling your email and information. If you say no again, you just go back. Or you can say, like, do you want to register? Yes.
Oh.
And then you have like login, or if you have already like registered, or you can go and register. Here is a loop again. If you don't want to register, you can connect your Google account. If you say no, there's no other option. You just exit. Or you can fill out your information, register, or like authenticate your Google account, and you're successfully like logged in.
Yeah.
On the login, you can just write your login information.
Okay.
If it's valid, you go back here.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, it says like invalid, and then asks like, you wanna like click forget your password. Then either you hit no and go back to the login and try again, or you can reset your password and then you log in and come back here.
I'm going to give you some major kudos, Joseph. You're already a pro at this. No, seriously. Is this your first time doing a user flow?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I am extremely impressed.
Thanks so much.
Like really extremely impressed. You're a natural.
I agree. This is really clean.
No, seriously, man. Like I'm not kidding. You're natural at
Thanks so much.
This is a very high bar. I'm just gonna be real with everybody. Joseph has done a phenomenal job with a very, very high fidelity professional user flow. The areas that, the only thing I'm gonna suggest, Joseph, to improve on is that you need, when it comes to the persona, you need to kind of bring in the persona and show where they would prefer to go to. Okay. So let's say Carl, if he's one of your personas, can you go up to the top?
I have personas here too.
Oh, you do?
We can use any of them.
Great. So, you can just highlight that stuff a bit more. But other than that, like, yeah, you've done an incredible job with this.
Thank you.
Really proud of it. It is very professionally thought out. And just to let everybody else know in the class, Joseph has really kind of like taken it to a whole high level. I wasn't expecting everybody to go this detailed, and those aren't my expectations. Joseph just has a natural talent for this. So I really am kind of basing it off of, like I explained to Carl, to keep it a bit more simple and a bit more like, you can have these wireframes and you can just simply outline where you're saying your user would go, and it doesn't have to be a lot of steps. It could be, especially in a law firm, it could be very simple steps of going, this persona came in to the home page, this was their start. They then went to the about page, and then they went to the contact page, and that was the flow. It could be that simple. Okay. Everybody understand that? Joseph just, he did a phenomenal job to outline a lot of detail in his, and he did an amazing job. A lot of people would hire you right off the bat to do all this kind of stuff. So
Thank
great
you.
job. Yeah, you're a talent.
Yeah, Carl, for the arrows, I hit L. You can point to the arrow line, and just with shift, it just makes straight arrows. And for this, I made the triangles.
Okay, and did you use Figma or Fig Jam?
Figma.
Figma, okay.
Yeah.
So one thing, Joseph, you can do is, I believe you can add an arrow to a line without creating the actual.
Oh, yeah. Now you meant, yeah, actually. It's shift out.
Save you a lot of work in the future. So go ahead and do it. Bam.
Oh yeah.
You see that? And you can
save time, yeah.
You can even change, I believe, the arrow look. Does it give you an option?
When I highlight it? Not really.
Okay. Well, in the future, just to save you some time, boom.
Yeah.
There you go, man. So, but just nice work. I love it when I see certain things click with students, and you already see some natural talent in their thinking and their application. And wow, great job, everyone, today. I'm really stoked. I really liked everything I saw. All of the sharing today was just wonderful. Makes me proud. Cool. Anybody have any questions for Joseph? Nope.
Yeah, so you have white horizontal rectangles. You have some green diamond shapes. What does the green diamond shape represent?
It's a call for an action. Like, it's always a question if you look at it. And after that, it's always like,
well, then
the white rectangles are the buttons for the users.
Then
so login
would want to register. Should that be a
because every diamonds were the questions, I made a diamond too. But yeah, you can make it.
Yeah, because you already have a want to register up at the top. I feel like that other one would be a diamond too.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So just update that one.
Mm-hmm.
Very good question,
Thank you.
Carl. Yeah, very good question. Awesome. Great job, people. Great job. Okay. If nobody else has anything else, anybody got anything else? Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's somebody else here. You don't need to see that. Let me stop sharing. Hold on one second. I did see some stuff come. Give me 1 second. Okay, fine. Yeah, okay, that's fine. All right. Well, let me jump back over to Figma, my presentation, not Joseph's amazing work. So, all right, finishing that up here. Click, 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 lecture. Final thing, David Carson again. He actually does have design principles, as much as a lot of people might not think he does. Know your audience. How many times have I said that? Always know your audience. Use emotional typography. Use visual communication. Get inspiration from your daily life. And then finally, break the rules, but still respect them. David Carson. All right. Thank you, everyone. I thought that was just a great class. I really, really enjoyed seeing the progress and sharing. And so we have a lot ahead of us this week. And again, my expectations for next Monday is that every single person has some work in progress to share. Okay? All right. That's it.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
I'll get
See you
some
next
food.
week.
All right. Bye-bye.